Welcome back to Economic Lifelines Nigeria. Now, this is the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria, and over the next 12 months, this office should host numerous meetings involving investment bankers, real estate developers, and AMCON's debtors, all in a bid to sell the organization's wide range of assets. In addition to selling its stake in banks and companies listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, AMCON will also try to sell its stake in several private businesses.
The tank farm business, I've become a guru in tank farms overnight. We have inherited some tank farms as part of settlement in reducing exposures of certain obligors. In most cases, these tank farms are core assets to their business. Unfortunately, they were just significantly over-leveraged. So in managing that tank farm position, what we've done is to enter into leases with existing businesses who put forward these tank farms for settlement so that they can operate their business, make money and pay us back. That's the strategy for that. The longer term strategy, of course, is to unwind that position, either directly back to the lessee or to any other third party, depending on how the market unfolds. We are investment bankers here. We first and foremost look at the fundamentals. So it's not every single business that you sort of put in money in. That's number one. Then you do projections and ensure that they are a bit positive. So there's some logic and rationale towards making investments if we put money into them. There are very few vehicles, very few obligors that we have put money in.
AMCON is widely thought to have rescued Nigeria's domestic airline sector by buying the loans of the two main players, Aero Contractors and ARIC Air.
We own a stake in Aero. We don't own a stake in ARIC. ARIC is, as of now, still a loan that we're restructuring and entering into agreement with ARIC. So we don't own a stake in ARIC. But for all debt to equity conditions that we arrive at, such as Aero, the game plan, the larger game plan is always to unwind that position and come up with a strategy for that. With regards to Aero, we have come in, there had to be debt to equity conversion to lower the interest expense. It was over leveraged, but it had significant potential. The management there are brilliant, and they'll see us through this crisis. The larger plan is, once the airline is afloat, is to sell that position. But even as we speak, there are quite a few private equity interested parties, both internationally and locally, interested in that position. So that gives credence to our larger strategy that we're doing the right thing.
Most airlines across the world are unprofitable. However, they provide such a strategic service, sensitive for national security, sensitive for business and all of that. So what most of the airlines need is equity funding. But most airlines are funded with debt. I see AMCON as playing a holding role until the adequate capital structure comes in, which can provide 1, capital, 2, funding, and 3, long-term debt at a reasonable price. Hopefully, in the near term, no matter who owns the airlines, it has to be profitable, because a country with 150 million people who have to move around 22, in fact, I think about 24 or 25 airports, of which 5 or so are international airports, need solid airlines. I would look at AMCON stake as a national strategic investment for safety and for critical movement of commerce in Nigeria, people and investments.
After AMCON bought bad loans linked to the crash of certain segments of the Lagos real estate market, it's now thought to be holding a large portfolio of prime property.
With regards to real estate, I get 1,000,001 calls from people putting in private bids for properties, both those that we have and those that are still collateral for loans. It's the same thing I tell everybody. We're going to advertise, and the highest bidder will win. There are no private sales here, and our books are open. We publish our accounts. We get inspected on a regular basis by the regulators.
I think that AMCON, because AMCON has the capacity to hold on to real estate assets, it would be madness to sell into weakness. You buy into weakness and sell into strength. As the market begins to recover, the market is down at the bottom right now, especially residential real estate. When the market begins to recover, AMCON will have the strategy of selling, because AMCON has long-term funding. So AMCON is not under any pressure to sell real estate. If they were to sell real estate now, it would only make a market which was bad become worse.
I think we've sold 4 or 5 pieces of assets, 4 or 5 distinct assets, and each one of them had a clear reason why we sold them, and it went all the way to the board of directors. So there's no wholesale disposal of assets in AMCON at this point. And there's 3 reasons for it. 1, we believe the market is still depressed, and we're not interested in selling into a depressed market. 2, we believe that there's time. We have time to do this. And so we need to do it in an orderly fashion so that we can get the best prices possible. And I keep telling people, my friends included, if you want to buy a house or an asset, don't buy from AMCON. AMCON is going to look for the highest possible prices. We are not selling anything at distressed prices. Do you know, and Nigerians have been brought up to believe that if a public entity is selling assets, there's probably some bargain to be had. I want to say clearly to everybody, you will not get any bargains at AMCON. We are holding out for the highest possible prices. And you're much better off going to buy from somebody else than coming to buy from us.
In all dealings related to asset sales, the pressure is on AMCON's management to reflect its core principles of integrity and transparency. A tough task given the caliber of debtors linked to AMCON.
When CBN released the debtor list, it was the who's who in Nigerian business, in a sense, and it was quite shocking to a lot of people. And you can imagine the political pressure that an agency like AMCON will be under. But I think the central tenet of it is that AMCON is public money. We should be using public money, we should act in public interest, and a sizable amount of public money. So I think transparency is key. A lot of Nigerians are at the moment skeptical about some of these deals because of the caliber of people they're dealing with.
I think the bulk of AMCON debtors will probably be those who also have political or other connections somehow, either with previous governments, current governments, or in future governments. But they have the political connections. But that connection between politics and business is not unusual. What happens is that once you come up with a strict policy that anybody who borrows has to service it there and you can't get away with it, then that enforcement of the covenants of the loans and all that becomes critical. If AMCON is having any difficulty today, it's only temporary. It's in no time you will find that people have to pay and service their debts.
I don't feel any pressure. And
you don't feel pressure?
No way. And I'll tell you this. Nobody has ever approached me to be lenient. Not a single person. And I say this very freely. The president has never told me to be lenient to anybody. CBN governor has never told me to be lenient with anybody. The Minister of Finance has never asked me to be lenient with anybody. The amazing thing is that people go and complain to them that we're too harsh. And I always tell them, when you complain to my bosses that I'm too harsh, secretly they like it. So the notion of leniency, all our settlements are filed in court. If people are really curious about it, they should go to court. And the documents are filed there as terms of judgment. And they can determine whether it's lenient or not. But people should know what they're talking about. If a customer has collateral against a debt, and he's willing to surrender all his collateral for the debt, that's as much as you can get. The notion that you should then value it and it's what this is what that is superfluous. All you can get is the collateral the man has and the man he has pledged to the loan. That's what the law says.
Over the next 12 months, AMCON will embark on a selling spree of assets ranging from banks to real estate. This government agency has the power to support the recovery of Nigeria's financial sector and economy by taking a measured approach. But a wrong move could shake some financial markets that AMCON was created to help stabilize or compromise the integrity of a process that has been applauded by many, not only in Nigeria, but across the world. Wale Famrewa, CNBC Africa.